Hardcore Minecraft is difficult, but Cobblemon on hardcore, yeah, it's even worse. To show you what I mean, let me take you back to the moment it all started. A few friends and I decided to hop on Cobble Galaxy, which you should also do. It's actually a really good server. But then we all mutually agreed to participate in a Nuzlocke, which means that any Pokemon that dies during a battle or a battle with another player, we have to get rid of and can't use again. And also, we can only use the Pokemon that we first encountered when we random teleport every 3 days. Kind of challenging. Of course, this story starts as any Cobblemon story does. The beginning is choosing your starter Pokemon, and as Pokemon are limited, you have to make a very good choice because it could pass away and you could never use it again. But I know exactly who I'm going to start with. And of course, I may be biased, but Sprigatito, the best starter in Cobblemon history. But you know what? We've already spotted Choice. This is a Nuzlocke, which means we kind of have to battle. And it looks like this was Choice's first encounter, so I don't have to take this one, thankfully. But you know what we do have to do? We have to start our day one battle, which is quite a breeze, to be honest. I'm actually not worried about this battle at all. I think we'll be able to manage. And just like that, Troish is down 2 Pokemon, including his starter. And I'm literally, at this point, just thankful that it's not me. It literally could be me. I could be out of Meowscarada by now, but I was confident in Meowscarada, and we beat Quaxly. But that's something interesting, to be honest. Will the Pokemon stay gone is the question everybody's asking. I'm betting no. On day 25, I've made a little bit of an exception, a secret rule, if you will. And this secret rule kind of changes the game forever. Of course, we're all going to avoid battles, but I'll tell you a little bit about how this secret rule is going to go. The secret rule is that on day 25, you can sacrifice one of your remaining Pokemon in order to revive one and bring one back. And instead of just losing all your Pokemon, if you lose a battle, then the winner gets to choose which Pokemon he wants you to remove from your inventory and get rid of for good. This should make stuff interesting. First things first for my story though, I'm broke with $500 to my name. We have to RTP and find our random Pokemon. And at the same time, we have to find a way to level them up, which is not going to be very easy, to be honest. So we should probably get to that. And it was my turn, so I RTP'd, and I kind of kept my head down because I didn't want to get a bad Pokemon, to be honest. But let's not tell the rest of the group that. I'm just trying to get a good pick for my first pick. It's a little bit scary looking for your first Pokemon, knowing that this Pokemon is going to stick with you or fall. And I also tried to cheat with my world map a little bit, but we're just not going to talk about that part. We have a Pokemon to find, and I don't think I'm going to get very lucky this time around. We just found a Togetic, which is actually kind of big. A Togekiss could be very, very annoying. So you know what? I'm not actually too mad at this. This is actually going to be a big play for the future of my team. Hopefully. And as thing goes, I have to level up my Pokemon, which means I'm going to have to actually battle some Pokemon, which is quite scary, to be honest, because if I lose one, like I'm about to lose my Flaffy, then we're done for. We're cooked. We can't use that Pokemon anymore, so I have to be very, very, very selective and careful. As you can see in the top left, I'm kind of stressing out. How are we supposed to get these gone when I've already technically lost my Flaffy? How are we supposed to do a day 10 battle? How am I going to survive? Yeah, this is not good, to be honest. I have Meowscarada, Flaffy, and we also have our Togetic, which unfortunately doesn't get a one-hit kill on this guy, and our Flaffy is already gone, which means we're just going to run away. It's time to abandon this ship. But we did happen to get rich in a bunch of different stuff because I got access. I don't even know how I got access to all this stuff, to be honest, but I did get some keys. And if you think what I'm thinking or follow any of my stories, that means that we've got keys for gambling, which means we've got an easy way out of this challenge. I passed it with them and they said the rules is that you can re-roll. So that means I'm just going to use crates. And if you see the right side of my screen, it resulted in nothing good. So I just benched it all. Everything went to the bench. No starters here. So that just means we're going to have to get along without the stuff that I won in the crates, which is kind of unfortunate. Today, my gambling luck was not with me, but the story carries on. Stay with me. If I truly want to be successful in this challenge, win all of my battles, and on day 100, beat the final battle with the Pokemon that I have left from this crippling challenge where they literally steal all your Pokemon, I'm going to have to lock in, which means we're going to have to get insane luck on random teleports, but they let a little bit of valuable information slip. I'm allowed to trade with other players for more Pokemon. And that is the worst mistake that they ever could have introduced to a con man like me. Unfortunately, that era isn't starting now because I spent 30 minutes trying to catch this Manaphy and it just didn't work out. But it was time for our day 10 battle. So we decided to throw down with Dark Days and see if I actually got to keep any of my Pokemon or if I was cooked for the rest of the challenge. Let's just hope that if I lose, he's generous with me. As you can see, I've beat up most of his Pokemon. Anything he throws out is getting insta-killed. And then he threw out Blaziken, which was my worst nightmare with no EVs. And I lost. And he was generous with me, but that means I no longer have my Togetic. I can't use it. It's put in the bin, it's gone, and I just can't use it anymore. So bye-bye Togetic, I guess, but that does not stop me by any means. That just means that I have to go harder. That means that I have to work harder to get better Pokemon. And I have to find more loopholes because I'm not going to let this happen. I'm not losing a hardcore challenge. And as I slightly may be a gambling man, I traded most of my inventory for a Chi-Yu. I'm betting on this Chi-Yu to actually carry my team. But you know what? I've already explained it. We're allowed to trade. They gave me the okay. If this is not a part of the Nuzlocke rules, this is my show. And they told me I could use the Lupo. But then fourth, I had my random teleport to rely on, which we got a Cursola, which thankfully I don't think that I ever had to use, to be honest, because if I did have to use it, that would be a disaster. Nevertheless, it was time for another battle, and this time versus somebody who actually tuned into the live stream. And yes, I live stream all of this, and if you missed it, you missed out on a lot of good content. So make sure to join the live streams. It's usually at 4 p.m. But you know what? It's time to get into this battle, and Troish is wildin'. I'm telling you, this guy has something seriously wrong in his brain. Like, seriously wrong. But let's just continue, I guess. But unfortunately, this battle turned into not my favor. This was a bad point in the story. But it improves. Trust me, it improves. So just stick along. But for right now, it's not going too well for me. I'm losing a lot of Pokemon, which means I have to get rid of another one that Floppa chooses. But I'm not scared, because Floppa was nice enough to trade me a Tapu Koko for my Blast. I can't even say that word, to be honest, so I'm not even going to try. But Floppa was nice enough to trade me a Tapu Koko, even though I had already lost one and had to put another in the fainted bin. Now we have Chi-Yu and we have Tapu Koko. Like, I'm not cheating, I promise. This is literally just the loophole they gave me. This is the rule set they gave me. I mean, you can't complain when you make the rules. And listen, buddy, I already know you're sitting there commenting, tapping as hard as you can behind the keyboard. This is not a Nuzlocke. This is not... Okay, listen. Nuzlocks are extremely difficult to do on Cobblemon, let alone while you're streaming if you don't want it to take 1 million hours. And I like to goof off, quite honestly. So just chill out. Take a chill pill. This is our custom version of a Nuzlocke. I promise it's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. I didn't ruin the world. And you're still alive. Just take a deep breath. Please. Okay, speaking of Nuzlocke, it's actually time for my next RTP random Pokemon find encounter thing. And I'm actually searching for a Charcadet. And I have a genius strategy here. Any Pokemon I look at has to be caught by me first time. But that technically means I can just zoom into the ground and run around, have someone find the Pokemon that I want, trade them for it, or catch it myself, and it's good as gold. That's all you need. But then I had another RTP because we transformed 3 days after I leveled up my Charcadet, and I did legit find a Torkoal. I actually found him the right way. I didn't cheat to get this Charcoal. I saw him the first Pokemon I saw. I may have used my world map, but I random teleported, and it was the first Pokemon I saw on the world map, and the first Pokemon I saw in real life. So take a chill pill. We're doing it. And I used every bit of money that I had and had grinded for to get the Charcadet Evo item in order to turn it into the best Crash Out Pokemon that you've ever seen in your life. If you need a Pokemon with straight hands that can deal with pretty much every type, get a Charcadet and put a Focus Sash on it. Trust me, Bitterblade and Shadow Sneak are your best friend. And this guy's going to take out a few Pokemon. I'm telling you, this is the best Pokemon in the game. Ceruledge is the best Pokemon in the game. But we do, unfortunately, have a lingering problem. I'm broke. And after this battle, I'm going to be even more broke than broke was before, because I don't know if I'm going to win this battle, even though I have a wishy-washy, which I call legit, by the way, before you start yelling at me in the comments. Okay, save it, save your breath or your fingers. You don't want to get arthritis. And he had a Mega Steelix somehow. Found a Steelix Stone and found a Steelix on his RTP, which means this battle was going to be difficult. But nevertheless, we have to triumph and we have to win. So let's try not to lose another Pokemon. Nevertheless, in the battle, we tried our hardest. Ceruledge took out literally half of his team. And all we had left was Chi-Yu and Meowscarada to lock in. I can't even say this guy's name. Cyclizar? Is it like a bicycle? Like, I honestly have no idea. If you're a Cyclizar fan, I'm not a fan of you because this guy did damage to the rest of my team besides Ceruledge. But Triple Axle is literally the best move in Pokemon. Unfortunately, I didn't have a choice scarf on me at the time, so things were not looking up for me. But Triple Axle hits 3 times, and it hit 3 times. Oh, it hit 2 times actually. I technically lied. But then Volababy came out, which I was not really worried about Volababy like whatsoever. A baby? Me worried about a baby? Absolutely not. The only baby here was Dark Days and Troish. Those were the only 2 babies here. I'm not tolerating any baby stuff, but this Noivern had to just get on my nerves by being faster than me, and unfortunately I lost. But with the help of a likely friend, that loss right there that you just witnessed breeded the start of something amazing. I was poor. I was really poor. You see right there on the right of my screen, I have $11 to my name, which is no place you want to be when you're trying to win Cobblemon battles. And there's a shop full of stuff for you to use. But Lapras came to save me, and this is truly the beginning of something great. Let me just tell you that much. Me and Lapras started a little something I like to call Lapras Core. The idea of Lapras Core is that we are going to build the biggest farm possible in order to become billionaires on Cobble Galaxy and buy absolutely everything out. And this meant that the other teams did not stand a chance, because they would have to come through me for everything. And in this moment is when the construction started of the greatest enterprise, corporation, company that Cobblemon would ever see. A company that would never fall. A company that would earn billions. And you're going to be interested in this because billions we did earn and we did conquer. So be sure to stay tuned because you are going to see greatness unfold amongst your eyes of the best idea that Lapras and I have ever came up with, and that resulted in us ultimately becoming millionaires and ruling the server. But first, we just have to start. Rome wasn't built in a day. Every company started somewhere. So let's begin by starting construction. This venture was never meant to be easy, to be honest. The construction was never going to be quick, and it was going to take a lot of time and dedication from both Lapras and me. But you know what? We had a goal. We had our mindset. We knew what we had to do in order to succeed on this server, to win the battles, to win the money, and ultimately to win on day 100 and win the server. This is what we had to do. It wasn't a short process. It was a long process. But you know what? We took it step by step, brick by brick, and we built the largest corporation that Cobblemon has ever seen, and greatness came out of it. And let me tell you, the beginning of this story is something incredible. Before another great battle, through our trials and tribulations, Lapras and I decided to do what any sane man would do, which is gamble before we had to go into battle and see what our skins could do. But these play a bigger purpose in our story at Lapras Corp, because these skins would become very handy in the hereby future. But you know what? It was almost time to battle. We got some cool skins, but we mustn't get distracted. We have to stay locked in, and we have to win this battle. Listen, by this point in the battle, I have taken out all of Bino's Pokemon. Literally every single one of them. I've wiped his team. I have tons of Pokemon left. But he decided to throw out a Dreepy and a King Gambit. Listen, I'm not scared of Dreepy. We can handle Dreepy. That's a simple feat. Look, I have my whole team. I'm very confident here. But you know what? I have something to say. Using King Gambit is like owning the soccer ball at a soccer match that you're playing with your friends, or football. I prefer to call it football, but you know what? We're not going to start that debate. The thing is that using King Gambit at the end of the game when all of your Pokemon are dead and I have a full team is like when you start losing in the game, you pick up the ball and you run home.
That's what King Gambit is. Only babies use King Gambit. Can I please get a bunch of comments where you say Bino is a baby, comment baby, spam baby bottles, do whatever you need to do, because this unfortunate loss on my end was not my fault. But King Gambit is not my friend, so I decided to take him down with my Tapu Koko. Bino had beat me before with this King Gambit, but I was not letting that happen again, and I won. And with all the motivation tacked on from my previous win against the biggest baby in the world, King Gambit, I was fueled up and ready to work. I was ready to become a millionaire. I was sick of only having $80 to my name. So you know what that requires? That requires a good amount of attentive farming, which is also quite therapeutic, to be honest. But you know what? We were quickly running out of bone meal, which means we needed to collect more bone meal. And then I got to thinking, babies are born with 270 bones. And by the time you're an adult male, you only have 206. Where in the world do those bones go? Which also raised another question. Who's taking the bones? And as soon as I questioned this, we got a weird text message on our phones telling us to stop talking about the bones. The shadow government is taking place, and you'll see that soon enough. And although I asked some great questions, our tower was getting pretty big, to be honest. We were making this farm work, and it sped up right here because we were putting in hours of work. And I mean, I worked on this farm over 12 hours. But we had to focus on winning battles too, which means I had to figure out how to make a choice scarf, which I never had to make a choice scarf. I could usually just buy one or find someone who had already made one. But you know what? That was not too difficult for me because I ended up making one. Despite seeing that one string in my inventory, I know I had to use it. You're probably sitting here looking at me calling me an idiot. But you know what? We got a beginning scarf, which means all we had left to get was some diamonds. And once we got diamonds, I had the wool from a deep dark biome. We were able to create a choice scarf, which would be revolutionary to put on our Meowscarada. I used this hour or two, maybe 3 hours, to all focus on getting held items for my Pokemon, which would improve me heavily in the realm of battle. I don't know why I said biome. I guess I'm kind of tripping. No. We're good. Would improve my game heavily in battle, which means we have to EV trains next. But believe me this, I didn't forget about my RTP, and I was able to also find a shelter. And if you know anything about me, there's 3 guaranteed in my team: Meowscarada, Ceruledge, and Cloyster. The 2 or 3 best Pokemons in the game. But we decided to configure movesets. We had a Cloyster, or actually we still had our shelter at this point, which means we needed a Water Stone, which we would soon get. And that means that we would be ready for our next battle. Therefore, I deemed it that we were ready to finally take in a gym. This is going to be crazy. I meant take on, to be honest. Just don't listen to that. But you know what? Choice is currently evicting people while I'm trying to fight this gym. Lapras Corp is taking over the server. We are giving out eviction notices, and we are promising investors good returns, which they do have a good ROI. I'm telling you, Lapras Corp has the best ROI on the server. But besides that, we're taking on a still gym, which is kind of scary, to be honest, because they could remove literally any Pokemon out of the team that I thought was ready to take on the gym that they wanted to. But I have hopes for my Torkoal right here. I have hopes for my whole team. We're fully built. This is what all of the time is spent. This is how we have spent all of the time in order to build the team, in order to get the money, in order to finally prosper on this server. And we have our Chi-Yu. We have a basic fire team, which means that we should be able to do pretty good in this gym. And as you can see here, with my previous thoughts discussed, we only had Meowscarada, or a few more that may have not been too helpful against this, but as a steel gem, I kinda understand King Gambit. But that doesn't save you from being a baby, to be honest. You could pick a different one, to be honest. You don't have to use King Gambit. But King Gambit is what we had to face, to be honest, and all we had to use against King Gambit was knockoff. And all we had to switch to was Cloyster, which I was saving because of the Focus Sash, which I think that might work, but this battle, unfortunately, does not go my way. I can tell you that so far. This battle does not go my way. And we do end up, I don't even think we lose one because I was on my ready to revive. I didn't have to sacrifice one either. I had a PC full of Pokemon. But all we had left was just our Cloyster, and all we had to use was Waterfall, which unfortunately Cloyster got hit and I lost. But on to bigger things. It's time that I swore to myself that I would not lose another battle. I refuse to lose another battle. And the next battle is literally coming up right after this little segment right here. But but I have made a promise to myself that I refuse to lose another battle. There's no way I can lose another one. I'm not going to afford to. I'm going to take on another gym, and we're going to win. And now, let me introduce you to me versus the Rock Gym. This very may well have been the easiest gym battle I have ever faced in my life, and we cruised through. I stayed true to the promise to myself. My Torkoal is going to be locked in, and there is absolutely 0% chance that we ever lose this battle. This is it. This is the easiest gym battle. This is the Rock Gym. I can take on the Rock Gym. Easy peasy. This is completely like below my pay grade. We are knocking down stones right now. But you know what? I have to get this win to get more motivated to win day 100. But you know what? This battle, we will win. Now, please allow me to just highlight something to you. The best run. I'm telling you, if you needed any proof that Ceruledge is literally the best Pokemon to run on your team, at least just to have one. Literally, look at this footage right here of Ceruledge absolutely going crazy against this Stone Gym. I mean, just one after another. Bitter Blade, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw, doesn't matter. Has a grass type move as well. A minor. There's no reason that we couldn't beat this minor up. It's easy. Look, neutral move, Shadow Claw, still does damage. And of course, it doesn't matter if it's faster if you just use Shadow Sneak. It's literally just aura, like you saw in the chat. You can use Shadow Sneak. Boom. Easy. Need your health back? Use Bitter Blade. Have a sash. You can't get hit one time. I'm telling you, the Ceruledge Glaze might be real. I'm not gonna lie to you. The Ceruledge Glaze might be a tad bit real, but that is literally just because Ceruledge decides to solo this whole team. I think I lose to Sableye, to be honest, but Ceruledge took a few out before this as well, I'll have you know. And Bitter Blade is still regenning my... Look, Sableye is literally recovering. Absolutely nothing that Sableye can do. Absolutely nothing. Sableye can't do anything. There's absolutely nothing Sableye can do. I just spam Bitter Blade, and eventually I do fall, but for a good cause. And after witnessing the absolute performance that Ceruledge just did, the absolute show that just happened, Tapu Koko decides to lock in, and I win. I finally beat the gym. Rock Gym is done. And to reward me, they rewarded me in the best way. They just decided to let me gamble. You can see in the top left how excited I am to be able to win this battle. But what will we get from these cases, to be honest? Who knows what these crates will hold for us? And as you can see there, I say that Ceruledge is pound for pound the best Pokemon in Cobblemon. Trust me. Who cares what Legit Gamer says? Like, that literally does not matter. The proof is in the pudding. You lost, buddy. So therefore, I get to make up the rules and say who the best Pokemon is. But I don't think I got anything good. Grumpig. Unfortunately, not the best gambling product that I could get, to be honest. Honestly, but there's more cases to open. There's a super crate, which I don't think this gives me anything that crazy either. You know what? My mind's on the money. As you can see, we have $69,000 in our bank account right now, which is sure to grow once we get back to working on the farm. We got the item crate. Let's get back to farming. Unbeknownst to me or Lapras, Bino, Troish, Dark Days, any of the above, disaster was about to strike for Lapras Corp. And let me just tell you that nothing is too big for Lapras Corp to handle. We were going to build this thing to the sky, to the absolute biggest point that we possibly could, and absolutely nothing was going to stop us. I hinted about this a little earlier in the video, but I think now it's finally time for the explanation on what happened. The Shadow Government. Mentioned earlier in the video, we were forced to cap off our farm. Our hands were tied, and we were left with no option. The only option that we had was to put a cap on our farm because the government came after us. They said that our farm was causing problems, that it was too big, that we were making too much money. Lapras Corp did nothing wrong. The farm wasn't causing any lag, nor was it too big, nor was it an eyesore. It was hidden away from the public, yet they still came. But in times of trials and tribulations, you must stay strong. And that is exactly what we all did. As we doubled down, yes, we capped. We didn't build it any higher. It was almost sky limit anyways, but we decided to build a council. They would not be able to take away Lapras Corp. We would stand strong. There was absolutely no way that the Shadow Government was going to be able to take us down. So right before day 100, we sat here and we waited. To nobody's showing her up. Nobody arrived. Except I did drop Bino down the farm on accident. Listen, that was not meant to happen. But you know what? It is battle time. With a lot on my mind, I wasn't just fighting for me. I wasn't fighting for the video. I wasn't fighting to win the Nuzlocke or to be the best on the server. Now I was fighting for Lapras Corp. I was fighting for the people, the employees, everybody who had helped build this place, who invested, who placed blocks, who commended us in chat, who was with us the whole long way. I wasn't just fighting for me this time. I had an army behind me, a corporation. Tons of people relied on this battle to go my way. So exactly what I did was, I started off level 100, Torkoal versus Steelix. Once again, would I finally be able to defeat Dark Days on day 100? That isn't known yet. We're going to have to stay tuned and find out to see. But I'm going to give you a play-by-play on how I saved Lapras Corp, how Lapras Corp wasn't even threatened to fall, and how we ended up in the end of this battle doing what we did and what we sacrificed to get here. And so we did it. We hit Steelix and we used Flamethrower, and boom, that 1 HP was gone and we got a critical hit. Steelix is no more. We don't have to worry about Steelix, and our Torkoal is still standing strong. To see what happens next is kind of unbelievable, to be honest. This guy, the guy who took us out earlier, he gave us problems. The bicycle also, all of them kind of gave us problems. We've got Norvern. We got outsped by Norvern earlier. What would happen now? We use Stealth Rocks, which is the best move to make here. We gotta start doing some damage to these people. And look, he's immune to my ground moves. We have to use whatever we can to keep Torkoal alive, which unfortunately Torkoal doesn't. Which means I'm worried now. There's absolutely, I have doubt in my mind. I don't know if I can save Lapras Corp at this point. But you know what? We throw out Ceruledge, the one that we can trust. Ceruledge is the one person I think that could come out second behind Torkoal with the sun shining that we could be able to take out Dark Days' whole team with. I'm very confident in this, and we just have to wait for Dark to make his move, and Hurricane was used. My Sash saved me. We used Shadow Claw, which did a bit of damage. Now things are a little bit tight. We're in a tight scenario here, so we have to use Shadow Sneak. I was confused, but we used Shadow Sneak, and fortunately, it worked out for us. That was a shot in the dark. If it was left with 1 HP, this battle may have gone a completely different way. But Blaziken instantly comes out, which is not something you want to see, especially with Ceruledge that's on 1 HP right now. All we have to use is Bitter Blade. That's the only way for us to heal ourselves. We can Shadow Sneak Blaziken, which ends up being fortunate in our hand, because Aerial Ace does happen to jump up, and unfortunately, this might be the end for our friend Ceruledge. We have to Shadow Sneak as much as we can. This is our only hope on winning, is to just get the beat on Blaziken. There's no way. Ceruledge is gone now. What are we supposed to do to win this battle without Ceruledge? I've talked so much about Ceruledge and it's gone now. But Blaziken is on 13 HP. This is definitely a winnable battle. That's what's going through my head right now, at least. But I went out for Meowscarada. 2 HP on U-turn. You have to be kidding me. This is getting way too tense. I'm a little bit nervous at this point in time. I remember how nervous I was. This is the day 100 battle. This is all or nothing. I've lost a few day 100 battles and it's not a good feeling. I don't like ending the video on a bad note. I feel like it does better when we end on a good note. But Blaziken decides to use a move that doesn't make much sense at all, to be fair. My Tapu Koko outspeeds it. Decided to power up. That was probably not the best move there, to be honest. And Koko, which previously Dark Days got rid of in our team, takes out Blaziken, which is a massive move. You can see the stutter in who he throws out next. Mandibuzz. Are we afraid of Mandibuzz? Do you truly think that Mandibuzz would have been able to do anything to my Tapu Koko? Yeah, absolutely not. Dark Days is having a struggle here. You know what? Any one of my moves right now would take out Mandibuzz in 1 hit, which it does, for granted. It does take out Mandibuzz in 1 hit. But now we have the bicycle. This guy was a struggle last time. This time, he's not even going to be able to put up a fight. And trust me here when I say that bicycle gets exactly what he deserves with this dazzling gleam. It is so nice to see a 1 hit on that stupid bicycle. And now Manaphy, the person I used 30 minutes to try and catch earlier, which I didn't, and somehow Dark Days found on an RTP. You're a water type. Of course, I'm going to use an electric move. Tapu Koko saw what Ceruledge did and took pages out of that book. And as you see, I am the victor on day 100. The biggest win I've had so far. What should we make Dark Days do, to be honest? I think I know what we should make him do. Dark Days, you protested at Lapras Court. You sided with the Shadow Government, which means you have to meet your fate. See you later, Dark Days, and I will not be missing you. And Shadow Corp is now saved. Thank you very much. And that's pretty much the whole story of how I kind of completed the hardest challenge in Pokemon. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I also want to say thank you to all of the channel members that are new from the stream. Thank you all who've been tuning into the streams. Make sure to tune into the streams, but also check the video in the top right. You would love that video if you like this video. But without further ado, I will see you later. And also make sure to subscribe. Subscribe. Now.